welcome back to my channel. It's that time of the month, which means that I bring you another wrap-up. So we are in July and June was a very good month of reading. I didn't read excessively a lot, but I did read 2 huge books, so I'm counting it as a very good month of reading. I enjoyed most of what I read, and let's get right to it. So I started the month with The Dragonfly in Amber by Diana Gabaldon, which is the second book in the Outlander series. I started the series earlier in the year because I wanted to read all the books in the series, but it's been a slow progress because the books are gigantic and I have been concentrating on other things. Anyway, point being, I finally got around to reading Dragonfly in Amber and I loved it so much. And if you don't know what Outlander is, it's basically this very beautiful historical fantasy series, and you have Claire, who is a nurse in World War II, and the war just ended, so she travels to Scotland with her husband to, you know, have a little retreat, reconnect, and enjoy that the war finally ended. And while she's at it, she goes to Craignadoon, which is this formation of rocks that is very fantastical to the locals and has a lot of myths around it. And she goes there, and while she's there, something weird happens, and suddenly she's in 1746, and well, she doesn't know exactly why she is in 1746. It has that time traveling element that I truly love, and she doesn't quite know why she is in 1746, but while she is figuring everything out, she meets Jamie Fraser, and well, they going through a lot of things together, and it's just such an interesting premise because time traveling, and I'm right there for you. I love it, and it was such a great book. And now this is the second book, so obviously I cannot give a lot of the synopsis, so you have that. A lot of things happen in this book, and we are left in a very interesting position from last book. We have changed settings. We're no longer in Scotland, we are in Paris for a lot of the book, and that's just so interesting because we get to kind of see how everything was 2 centuries ago, 3 centuries ago now. Wow, time does fly, and it's just really interesting to see. But the thing that I love the most about these books that have a lot of drama in them, it's the relationship between Jamie and Claire, because oh my god, they are relationship goals. So amazing. It's such a natural and simple-ish relationship, and it feels so incredibly real. The dialogue is so well constructed that it feels like something I could hear someone saying in the street or something like that. And the relationship, it's just really real because it's not all roses and, you know, sweet things, but they fight for very natural things, you know, sometimes ridiculous, sometimes they do have merit, and it's just very beautiful to see such a relationship that feels like something I could root for. It doesn't feel fantastical, it doesn't feel that it's way too romanticized. It's just real, and I love that. I love that the dialogue is so natural that it brings comedy to the situations without it needing to be, you know, extra pushy about it. It's just something that you will say, and you know it's comical because of the situation, the phrasing, and it's just such a natural comedy that it fits perfectly with the more dramatic aspects of the book because it has a lot of drama and a lot of action. We have battles, huge battles in it, so you cannot leave that behind. And I thoroughly love it. I love the flash forward in the book because it's not something you get a lot. It's a lot more easier to use flashbacks than to use flash forwards, and I just love that it was very well implemented. It opened a lot of mysteries to the whole book, and it gave some twists a very good punch when they came around. And you also have a lot of political and moral dilemmas that the characters are dealing with, and that are very interesting to read and to figure out with them. The one thing I do not like is that it's a little bit slow in the pacing, which it can happen with such a huge book, and it has a chapter that has 80 pages and I still cannot fathom why do that, because it's just way too long and I feel like I'm not advancing at all, which is already a bit of a problem in such a huge book. So I didn't like that, but everything was really amazing in the book and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. After that, I read The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchison. Sorry if I butchered that. And it's the first book in the Collector's series, which I didn't know when I picked the book up, but it was a fun surprise. This is a thriller, which I wasn't expecting either, because I had heard a lot of the book and most of the things I had heard were oriented toward the horror genre. So that was not a disappointment, but it was kind of interesting to figure out on the fly. So yeah, fun for that. And in the book we basically follow the interrogation and investigation of this girl called Maya, and she has just been saved and rescued from being kidnapped for some while from this guy, the gardener, who kidnapped young girls. So you can make yourself an idea where the book stands. It's very heavy in the feelings, but I wouldn't call it graphic. It is not graphic. You do realize things are happening and they are addressed, but you never really see all the bloody bits. So wouldn't call it graphic at all. It's just very heavy to read and a lot of things are happening. Maya is such an amazing main character. I loved her and I loved seeing everything from her point of view. It's very interesting, and it's even more interesting because the whole book has this quality of an unreliable narrator, which, you know, it's really fun to have because you don't know if what you are reading, it's biased or not. And yeah, the book was very short and you can fly through it very easily. And you know, it's just a very good thriller and a very good mystery, and you know, all these girls that it's heavy. It's a heavy read, but it's such a nice one. The only thing I did not enjoy is that the whole book has 3 chapters. That's it. And you know, one of the first things I do when I read a book is see how many chapters it has, and that gives me an idea of how much time I'm gonna take reading the book and how much progress I'm gonna feel that I'm making. So it just having three chapters was not the best thing I ever seen. I did enjoy the book and I gave it a solid 4 stars, so you can judge from there. I do want to give some trigger warnings. It has child abuse, kidnapping, suicide, and sexual abuse. So if you are uncomfortable with any of those things, maybe not reading this book, it's best for you. The next book I read in June was House of Earth and Blood by Sarge Mas, the first book in the Crescent series, and this is a world where magic and technology crosses and mix, and it's such an intricate world that it's so well constructed. And we also follow Bryce and Hunt while they are trying to discover a mystery that will affect everything in their lives, for better or for worse. And it's very interesting in that sense, very interesting to see them discovering the pieces of the puzzle. But you know, the most interesting thing is definitely the world building, because it's such a beautiful and complicated world that I just can't get out of my head still. And one of the things I loved the most was the highlight in the platonic relationship. That's all I'm gonna say about it in here, because I already have a video talking more in depth about what I thought about the book, and you can check it out in the description or over here, I think. So if you want to know more about House of Earth and Blood, go check it out. And I gave the book 4.75 stars. I loved it. And the last book I read in June was All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I'm not really sure how that's pronounced. We follow Violet and Finch. They are both the MCs and narrators, and they are dealing with stuff in their lives, and they will pair up to do a geography project about their home state, and during doing that they will help each other and they will discover a lot of things about themselves as well as their home state. And oh my goodness, I had so many emotions during this book because it's such a heavy read. It's advertised a lot like a summary series, especially because of the name and the cover. It does not tells you a lot of what the book really is about, but it's very heavy, and I had so many emotions playing out while I was reading it that I was not expecting, because I was expecting something fluffy, which is not what the book is. And oh my god, I felt, I think, most of everything. I was most surprised because I felt a lot of anger over situations that are going on in the book and characters that are in the book, not the book, characters in the book, important distinction. But just, I was not expecting to feel so much during this book, and I felt a lot. It was beautiful, really beautiful. The thing that I think stayed with me the most is the contrast between both of the narrators. We see Violet and we see Finch, and both chapters are very differently toned, and I love the dynamic that created. It was very fun to read, and was very nice to have that dichotomy playing in there. I don't know, I loved it, and I felt that added to the book a lot of vivacity and a lot of, you know, character to the book, and I enjoyed it. It was not fun because it's not fun, but it was very colorful, and this book, it's all about the emotions and the colors, so I really love that. I did have a rather hard time connecting with Violet. I don't know, it's just she is a complicated character. Not saying she is bad or she was awful or anything like that, but I just couldn't connect with what she was trying to do or going through, or how she was dealing with the stuff. So it was very hard for me to get into the mood of her chapters until probably around the end of the book. But it wasn't bad, it's just it took me a while to get there with her. I had a lot of an easier time with Finch, which was good for the book because I wasn't overly, you know, out of it through the reading. I have something to rely on, so that was nice. And I do have a warning for the book. Do not read the blurb, because I read the blurb and it spoiled me completely for a huge twist in the book. I read it and I was like, oh, so that's what's gonna happen. That was not nice. The synopsis, it's not the worst, but also probably it's better to get into the book without knowing anything about it, a lot about it. It's just better. I saw also a lot of reviews that are pretty spoilery about something that I think it's better if you discover it in the book, because just, I don't know, it makes more of an impact that way. So yeah, be very careful with that. That's my warning. I also have trigger warnings because this book deals with heavier stuff, so be aware that this book contains suicide, the death of a relative, bullying, and child abuse. And if something of that makes you uncomfortable, maybe not read the book, or you just know, so you are prepared when you decide to read it. I gave the book 3.75 stars, not because I didn't love it, but because I don't think it's a book that's gonna change my life or anything like that. It was really good though. So those were the books I read on June. As you could see, I read huge books, so I'm considering that I read a decent amount of books, and I'm very happy with them. I enjoyed all of them, and I enjoy the diversity of them as well. Tell me down below if you have read any of these books and what you thought about them, and if you have any books to recommend to me, be sure to do, because I would love to give them a check. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you next week. Bye!